I want to be the next Joshua B. Lee or the next Hassan, right? And no, you want to be the next you, right? If you're trying to be someone else, it's always going to be their dream. You're always trying to achieve their results. No one can be you without you, right? So you have to be the next you. People don't realize LinkedIn's an SEO goldmine because it is the Moz score, the 100 out of 100.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So they're not only indexing your profile, they're indexing your content, they're indexing your comments, and it is crazy. I don't want the people listening here, I don't want them to be influencers. Influencers, that person on TikTok or Instagram that's half naked selling me, some sunglasses or whatever crap they got paid to be able to sell. I want people to be thought leaders with influence. And so that's why I want everyone to take that time out, because all this indexing on Google and OpenAI is going to take your authority and put it everywhere for everyone to be able to find. I want you to understand that it's more powerful to build an advocate over a client, because a client is a one-to-one relationship. An advocate can bring you thousands of clients.
So Joshua B. Lee is known as the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn because he figured out how to be an authority figure on LinkedIn without spamming people and being his full authentic self. Joshua has successfully built 6 and 7 and 8-figure businesses over the last 20 plus years and wrote the insightful book, Balance is Bullshit. Man, you're good with names. This is good. His success began as an online advertising genius, managing close to $1 billion in ad spend, creating 35 trillion impressions, and serving notable clients like Google and MySpace. That's awesome. For the people that are listening, listen to this because this is really important. Joshua has devised an engagement engine process that lands 6-figure opportunities without resorting to paid ads, which is really important, or spammy messages or salesy tactics. If everyone is listening, LinkedIn, all spammy messages all day, every day. The innovative approach has earned him the recognition as a LinkedIn top marketing voice and coveted spot with LinkedIn Creator Program, can you tell me more about the Creator Program, more about that? What is that?
Yeah, of course, man. Well, again, this is where we actually work directly with LinkedIn on some of their beta products, what's going on. LinkedIn's really had a big shift in what they're doing, right? Everyone used to go to LinkedIn and go, oh, that's where I put my resume to be able to either find a job or to hire someone. And over the last 20 years, which most people don't pay attention to, LinkedIn has been around for 20 years, y'all. It has evolved into one of the most strongest platforms out there in regards to social media and actually engaging with an audience that has the ability to be able to make decisions, has the revenue to be able to afford the decisions they're making, and the right audience. So when we're talking about that, LinkedIn has this program for people like you and I, Hassan, that are creating kind of that educating, inspiring, and drawing in our audiences, not selling them, to really work with them on some of the newest stuff that are coming out. And that's what's awesome. I regularly kind of fly out to the LinkedIn offices to be able to kind of see what they're doing and be able to give insights on what I believe where the market's going.
That's awesome, man. Well, first of all, thank you for being a part of this podcast.
Yeah.
I myself and the team were so grateful to have you because the topic of just LinkedIn is just very important for all entrepreneurs, but not just entrepreneurs, but just general people looking for relationships.
100%.
And building authentic relationships is something that you talk about all the time. And that is something that the way I have built a 6-figure business that's how I did it. It's authentic relationship. And I did it the way I did it was offline. Yeah. But talking about the online world is a little bit completely different. And that's what I want you to kind of expand the difference between online and offline building relationships. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, no worries. Well, look, I'm going to be 100% honest. I think this is the biggest problem, Hassan. People look at it at a much different level, right? They go, oh, well, this is different than when we're doing things online. They don't see that other human being on there, right? They go, well, this is a B2B play or a B2C play, right? Business to business or business to consumer. And I'm going to tell you right now, after almost $1 billion in advertising, working with all these companies over the last 20 years, there is no B2B or B2C, man. Those are just ways to diversify ad spend. Everything is H to H, human to human, because every company is run by another human being. Most marketers forget that. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? We go in there and we're just you know what? We're going to go on here. I'm going to create opportunity. I'm going to spam, especially on LinkedIn, 1,000 people with my offer. And if one says yes, I'm like, yay, I got the sale. When in essence, all we did was piss off 999 people, right? We have to be able to treat them like another human being. I always say, like, my process that I do, dude, it's just the things that my mom taught me how to be able to treat other human beings. I'm just doing it online, right? And so that's what we have to be able to think about when we're going there. How would I want to react to someone? Like, if you and I were meeting in person, if I walked up, it's like, Hassan, dude, hey, you wear shirts? Me too, man. Let's connect. You know, you're like, this dude is crazy, right? Like, what the hell? And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, dude, now that we're connected, we're all buddy, man. Hey, do you want to buy my $5,000 product? You're like, I don't even know you other than the fact that we both wear shirts, because that's the only thing that you recognize off my, by us walking up. This is what we continue to be able to see on LinkedIn. So we have to be able to think that, how do we actually appreciate someone? How do we actually give compliments? How do we ask questions about them and then provide value? And these are how relationships are built. And in that sense, I was explaining that entire process of what we do, brother, on a podcast a couple of years ago. And that's kind of how I got the name Dopamine Dealer, because each one of those are little hits of dopamine as human beings that put us more in a flow state, right? People go, oh, dopamine, it makes you excited. No, dopamine actually puts you in a flow state, allowing people to be able to connect more on a deeper level. And that's what we're trying to do.
I love that, man. That's what you talked about, dopamine. Is it the same exact topic when we're creating a lead magnet and we're creating something that exponential, so much value so that we could build that trust?
Yeah, that's it. This is exactly what it is. I mean, people look at it, they confuse dopamine and serotonin a lot of what that actually does. And like dopamine, what we're trying to be able to do is, human beings at minimum over the last 20 years, brother, have been conditioned to be able to look for these little hits of dopamine we all get by being online, by going through. Because I mean, that's what the companies like MySpace, Facebook, I mean, any social media program, TikTok, Instagram, all of them, they condition us to be able to look for those little hits before everything else we do on there. And so that's what we have to understand, is we understand that human algorithm, it shifts everything. We stop chasing LinkedIn's algorithm, Instagram's, TikTok's, because when we're chasing those, we're just looking for tricks or hacks, right? To be able to beat the algorithm. That again, we have to learn the next trick or hack, when just understand how human beings work. It's just a much easier and simpler process.
Wow. There's a lot of points that you just said that we as humans, we forget about. It's just the basic stuff that we do and how we engage with people. And how can we deliver that value? Now that you're talking about that, I'm going off my questions a little bit just because this is exciting.
Bro.
What's the context of sending messages to people and creating that trust? Some people send video, some people send messages, some people send or endorsements, or sending a review, or connecting with someone, or commenting on a post. What exactly is that today?
Well, here's the first thing, man. I mean, I think the biggest problem is you're giving unsolicited advice or unsolicited connection and messages. And we all hate that, right? Like, when's the last time that your phone rang and you're like, oh, I'll pick it up, and you had that 1 or 2 second delay, and it's someone calling to pitch you, right? Like, we know it's a telemarketer being, no one likes cold call or cold email. And that's what we have to understand, right? So for me, before even going to messaging and why, we have to look for trigger points, right? What action did someone take? And I think the biggest thing that I learned, especially post-COVID, was we take the little things for granted in life, right? We don't appreciate things that we take for granted all the time. Like during COVID, I mean, there was a lot of things that we went through. Like most of us took for granted that we don't have to rock around wearing masks all the time, or be able to go out anywhere, or travel wherever we wanted, right? Like these are the things that we took for granted, that were just things that were like, oh, well, that's just a given. I can do that. I can walk outside and go to an event. That's the same thing with social media, right? We take for granted a lot of the things we've been conditioned. The human condition of being online is like, comment, share, post. Like, comment, share, post. That's that algorithm. Like, comment, share, post. That's that algorithm. And to be able to create a stopgap in someone's pattern, we have to be able to appreciate them for something they've taken for granted. What I look for, if I'm sending out a message, what action do they take, right? So on the front side of it, people taking actions towards me, let's say on LinkedIn, did someone like my post? Did someone comment on my post? Or, because on LinkedIn, you can see everyone that looks at your profile. So I can go, Hassan, man, I noticed that you looked at my profile. I just want to reach out and say thank you. Too often we don't appreciate them, and I'd love to connect with you and find out what pushed you to look me up. Or just a simple thank you. Hey, man, I saw you like my post. Man, I'd love to find out what really pushed you to engage on it, right? What you like about it the best. really asking questions. And that's where these conversations, because what we're looking to be able to do is have a conversation that builds a relationship, because relationships open up opportunities.
Okay.
They forget that process, right? They forget the conversational aspect.
Yes.
And they're just talking at people all the time.
Yes. And does that come from actually being a good content creator online? Because a lot of people have, it's not easy for them to create content online. Is that from like creating a good piece of authentic, standout authority, authentic content out there? Is that where it comes from?
Content is key, but content is not king anymore, right?
Uh-huh.
So I want everyone to understand that, like, we live in a world where, especially now with AI, content's not king, right? There's so much content out there. I mean, I look at, hell, like even on any given Friday night, me and my wife were hanging out, because we're not going out that much anymore. We've got a new little one due here very soon. So we're Netflix and chill, right? Being able to go through, but there's so many times we go on there, we're like, dude, there's nothing to watch. That's totally incorrect. There's too much to watch, right? So we have content overload. So content's not king anymore. It's quality is queen. So yes, I can put out the best content in the world, and then I can look up in the sky and be like, all right, find me. No, dude, people aren't going to be able to do that. So what I actually push people to do, Hassan, is really be able to, yes, the content backs up who you are. You want to be able to use content that educates and inspires your audience and draws them in. But how do you actually initially draw that audience in? Because they're not just going to find you with the millions of people that are out there, especially LinkedIn. LinkedIn just is right at 1 billion people on the platform, right? And other platforms are well above that. So we're talking about, how are we going to shine in 1 billion people? Well, dude, if I want you to be able to look at my content and be able to draw you in, that's that other side of it, right? So I said, engage with people that engage with you, right? They look at your profile, they engage in your content. But if I want you to be able to look at my content, I've got to give to receive. So on the other side of it, we have to be able to look at why people post online. So if I want your attention and I'm like, you post on LinkedIn, the average person gets less than 1% engagement on that platform. So what I want to be able to do is remember that those little hits of dopamine, right? That we all get when someone likes or comments on our post. Exactly. So if I want to draw you into my world to be able to see my content, to be able to have that conversation, I'm going to first and foremost, I'm going to like your post. I'm going to comment on it. And then I'm going to reach out and say, Hassan, man, dude, I saw your recent post, man. I just want to take 2 seconds out and say thank you. I appreciate the value added here because of X, Y, and Z, right? Love to be able to connect. It seems like a lot of synergies, right? Whatever it might be, but it's, again, we're not veering off I told you, it's not rocket science what I'm talking about. That little bitty 2 words, right? Thank you, right? Thanking someone for something they take for granted on a regular basis is so huge. And that's what I want everyone to understand. That's how we start these conversations, draw people into our content and into relationships.
So be interested than just being interesting.
It takes both sides. You can't have one side of the coin. Like, you'll see, and I know, like, some people might be listening to this on the audio side, but you see my 2 pictures behind me, I should say. So this is something I had done for me a couple of years back. This is the female and the male ethos, right? Based on what I explained to an artist. And I always sit in between the two, because I know that as in our society, in our world, you can't have value with only one side of the coin, right? We need both sides of those coins, male and female, to create that true value. And that's the same thing with you're talking about. You have to be interested and interesting at the same time to create true value, not only for them, but for yourself as well.
Okay. Thank you. Like what you just said, that like this is like the chunk of the podcast or interview that we're doing. That's like the basic stuff that I wanted to kind of like people listen, because that's like so important. So that people could go through that really quick. So thank you so much for sharing that. This is where I want to switch a little bit and talk about the word dopamine, dealer on LinkedIn, man. What was the moment that you realized in your career that made that shift, made that pivot? What was that moment? How did you, because you were working with, I don't know, over a couple companies, a few companies, and you shifted to this dopamine dealer. How did that happen? What did you realize?
It wasn't just overnight, right? Like, being able to go through, one of the biggest things that I want people to understand as entrepreneurs, it's not an easy journey, right? Like, you have to be able to choose this life. And people that are just like, oh, I'm going to do this because I can, like, it's different, right? This is a choice that we all make, being able to go through here. I actually had this conversation with my wife the other day, because she's an entrepreneur now, being part of my company in the last 2 years, right? And for me, prior to the marriage I'm in now, right, hitting 5 years with Rachel, amazing. If anyone wants to check out someone other amazing, Rachel B. Lee, she's awesome, my wife. But at the same time, I was married before, brother. And I was taught the things that a lot of us are taught based on my generation, which was make money, don't show any scars, right? Don't let anyone know that you've messed up, and continue to be able to build, be able to build bigger and bigger and show everyone how amazing you are. And that, yes, I was successful based on monetary value. That's what most people base success off of. Running 6, 7, and 8 figure companies. At the time, I was running 10 different companies, and I didn't have any issue with money, but I was 45 pounds overweight, never been overweight in my life. My relationships had become monetary, and I had no vision about where I was going. I just knew where I was at. And I was trying to live this whole, what we're taught, this work-life balance.
Yeah.
And dude, it was rough, because I remember there was a time where my office became where the doors shut, man. And I mean, I would be in that office. It not only was a sanctuary for me, but a coffin that I was actually contemplating if I even should be on this planet anymore, if the money I would leave for my family would be more important.
Mm.
And truly, not until I released everything, walked away at 36, a little bit under $1,000, man, saving time, not worrying about money, and really being able to move forward, that I started being able to find a new path. Now, I'm going to be honest, dude, it wasn't like, oh, Josh is the dopamine dealer, jumping right in. No, man. I mean, it's at first, if you know me a couple of years ago, let's say 8, I had my man bun, my mala beads, my pendulum had swung. Dude, I was going to be a life coach. I was like, I'm going to teach everyone all the things that I had messed up. And I'm going to forget my past. Like, I'm going to be something new.
Yeah.
And this is the one thing I want everyone to understand. You cannot forget your past to forge a new future. Right?
Good.
That you cannot do that. So like, I was like, man, something's going on. There's a misalignment. And once I realized I had to own my past and combine it with my future, which was humanizing the way we were online, is when finally that dopamine dealer kind of popped out. And I started really being able to get to work with men and women. I used to read their books on how to be able to start my own companies 20 years ago. And now it was like, how do I actually really truly change this world for the better and leverage social media, not it leverage us.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. There's a couple things I took there as nuggets. Definitely.
It's a long story.
Yes, but there's a lot of good. Now, talking about that, the book, Balance is Bullshit.
Yeah.
Is it, are we still in the same game? Balance is bullshit?
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, look, I
love
got the book, got it all set up. It was one of those
Yes.
things, man. It's this work-life balance that we're all sold into.
Exactly.
Dude, balance is this, okay? We're balanced. There's no movement. There's no growth. Like, you and I both work out. If we were just balancing things all the time, we have any muscle growth going through? Like, no, you have to have imbalance. And like this whole work-life balance, like that's like having 2 different lives, right? I have a work life and I have a personal life. That's also like having 2 different personalities. If we have 2 different personalities, most people that are dealing with that are taking lots of meds, or they're locked up, right? Like, we have one life and we have to live it that way. So it's all about how do we integrate the things in our life that make us powerful and fill our cup so we can fill others.
Wow. Yeah, because, so long, I was sold so many times, balance. And it's entrepreneurship. Like, if you want a 9 to 5, I don't know, but you could do that and do whatever you want. But life, I never in my whole career, in my childhood, never had life balance. Never.
No, you wouldn't be here today if you were actually trying to balance everything. I'm going to tell you right now, you and I would not be having this conversation right now, because you would not have achieved the success that you've achieved right now. And look, that happens, right? We come out of balance. But the biggest problem is most of us hold it like, oh, I didn't work out today, or I didn't do this, or and then you're pushing yourself down lower and lower and lower. And how do you again expect yourself to be able to achieve greatness? You have to be able to have that faith in yourself that what you're doing right now is just as important. And you have to be able to go, what can I do? Look, okay, I can't work out 24/7, right? To be healthy and be able to do this. But hey, if I do a couple push-ups each day, right? Like, I'm still trying and eat healthier while I'm putting the work. Like, these are things like, how do I integrate the different aspects of my life that really make me feel success? Because success is designed and defined differently by everyone.
Exactly. 100%. I mean, the world of entrepreneurship, there's entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs within companies, and there's executives, there's employees, there's all this stuff, and all these positions, all of them are so important.
Yeah.
And sometimes as entrepreneurs, because I want to get your perspective on this,
Yeah.
A number 4 in a company, a number 4 or 5 wants to be a number 1, but their position and what they want to be on number 4. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
But the entrepreneurship world, what we see consistently, what they're selling is you need to be number 1 in a company. You can't be an executive or top talent within that, or you can't be an influencer. You can't do this. You have to be the top 1. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, it reminds me of a movie, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, right? I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Like, if you're not first, you're last. Well, no, you can be second, you can be third. There's lots of things. Like, how are you feeling? Like, there's different aspects. And I mean, it makes you think, well, if you're not the best, like, look, I consider myself the best in the world these days at LinkedIn. I don't think anyone else out there can be. But at the same time, I have to continue to be growing, right? If I stop, like, I can be surpassed in a second. And I'm like, that took me many years. It wasn't overnight success. And we have to understand that even as in the business, right? Being able to go through, like my wife, when she worked at Microsoft, she leveraged her personal brand in the company to be able to then get more opportunities because she wanted to grow. But then she saw a level that she goes, this is not feeding what I need. And then she left and bet on me and us to be able to create standard authority with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. But thank you so much for sharing that as a perspective, because I think people need to hear that, just completely need to hear it, because at the end of the day, who are you becoming? And Jim Rohn talks about it. Who are we becoming? Who are we becoming? Who are you becoming? Who do you want to become? Want to duplicate because you see someone that you want the same exact thing, but at the end of the day, you go do it and you don't want it. You realize over time, like, oh, that's not the thing that I actually wanted. That was just, I was sold that.
Right.
And
at the same time too, dude, I mean, like, people go all the time, like, well, like, oh man, I want to be the next Joshua B. Lee or the next Hassan, right? Like, and no, you want to be the next you, right? If you're trying to be someone else, it's always going to be their dream. You're always trying to achieve their results, and no one can be you without you, right? So like, you have to be the next you. Exactly. And how are you going to define that, right? Like, and that's the biggest thing, as people go through, like, oh, well, I do Tony Robbins miracle, mornings, or, whatever it might be. And I'm like, well, cool, that's great, but it's never going to be as impactful until you take that 1 degree shift. And that's all it takes, is that 1 degree. Find someone you love, you admire, you want to follow, and say, I want to be just 1 degree off from them, because that will be unique.
Exactly. That's perfect, man. Let's go back to a little bit about LinkedIn and business a little bit. I love this. This is great. It's a mix of a couple things.
Yeah, bro.
So many business owners struggle to differentiate themselves in a crowded market. How can someone take LinkedIn or the LinkedIn approach and help them stand out and become a standout authority in their industry?
This is the big thing, man. And I love that question, because everyone kind of goes through, well, how can I be different? You already are, right? You are yourself. The biggest thing I want everyone to understand when you're talking about being able to stand out, you have to understand how other human beings, everyone listening, you and I, Hassan, make decisions. We make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. We do not make decisions being indifferent to something. And so that's the biggest thing. Like, oh, I want everyone to understand me, but I don't want to piss anyone off. I don't want anyone to hate me. I don't want anyone to think I'm wrong, right? I need everyone to love me. I'm going to tell you, it ain't going to happen, right? If you really want to create waves, you want to create an impact, you want to change this world for the better, you're going to have those people. As a good friend of mine, Jesse Elder, says, you got to drink your haterade. And once you're doing, like, that you're making changes enough that people are coveting where you are, right? So you have to be able to understand, you have to be polarizing. Only way to do that is to be 100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline, right? And it's freeing. At the same time, you want to be able to stand out. You want to be authority, educate, inspire, and draw people in. Be 100% you without going, oh, I can't say that. Like, dude, I lived a life where, like, I was always like, well, other people's perception of me is this. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, this is what drives most people crazy. They try to understand what your perception, my perception, what your perception of me is. Well, dude, unless you tell me, I don't know what your perception of me is. But that's what we're always constantly worrying about, right? Someone else's perception of us. And We don't know these things. So that's what I want everyone to understand. When you're standing out, no matter what, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform, it starts with that you and human, right? And that's what I want everyone to understand. And that's what will make you stand out, and you will attract your tribe, and you'll push away the people that you don't align with, even if they could pay you, right? Like, we don't want those things.
Exactly. By you being you and creating content online, is it consistency that creates that you, because of confidence, because of trying to figure it out? What piece of content, what do I talk about? That thing about you and creating that you from here to here.
Yeah.
It's just consistency, would you say?
Yeah. Clear, consistent content, being able to go through the 3 C's, but at the same time too, I'll tell you this is the kind of way that we look at being able to help people. Like how do I show up? Like, LinkedIn's a business platform. No, LinkedIn's a human platform.
Okay.
Right. And so you have to be able to go on, but you have to understand it's not Facebook, right? Like, I don't need to know when your kids are going to school. Like, yay, first day of school, look at my kids. But I need to know you have them, right? Because as human beings, we connect with other people that we have commonalities with, right? So like, oh, you have kids? Me too, right? Like, oh, sorry, you work with digital marketer? Me too. Boom, connected, right? Being able to go through. So we have to look at that. So when we're looking at LinkedIn, I always like to be able to use the 10-20-70 rule of content creation. Have we talked about that before?
No, please share.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Sure. I know me, even though you and we haven't talked about it to everyone else. So you're like, dude, I don't care if we talked about it, share again. But the 10-20-70 rule of content is this.
Just PS. This is exactly what Joshua B. Lee does. He helps people do this is the conversation I want. I just want people to know that, putting this conversation into the interview, that this is exactly what you do with Standout Authority. So
yeah, every single day, man. We are the human algorithms behind some of the best voices and strongest voices on LinkedIn. So, we're doing this on a constant basis. And that 10%, right? It starts with that. It starts with that human aspect, 10% personal, right? You need to be able to connect with other people, right? Human beings connect with other human beings. You can't put content out there without that 10% of you in every single post. It's what I call the door to the couch mentality, right? So if I had been, let's say I'm knocking on your door, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I'm Josh. I'm here to be able to sell you this pen. Dude, most people these days are closing the door on you. Like, no, thank you. We've got pens. We're good, But like, it's not like if you and I are hanging out on the couch, right? Because we had that personal connection, that bond that's put you and I hanging out together. And I'm like, dude, I got this new pen. More than likely, you're going to be like, dude, you're going to take it from me and like, okay, cool. Why are you telling me about it? Tell me more. Right? That's what we want to be able to do. That's what that 10% personal draws people in. And we're like, hey, dude, I know you, right? It's like, you're not selling them, you're connecting with them, you're building that relationship. So 10%, right? 20% of your content needs to be around your company, but not what you can do for somebody, what you've done for somebody in the past, right? How have you helped someone, right? How can people see themselves in that story being able to go through? We all hate those people like, I can help you make 7 figures, or let me stand next to this Lamborghini on the side of the street. Like, oh, I'm going to make you a millionaire. And they're like, okay, what? No, tell me a story on how you've actually supported or done something within your own company. And we only do this 20% of the time because we don't want to be that person in the room. I'm like, you and I have been to a lot of networking events, right? We always have that guy. They're like, oh, dude, there's Josh, man. That dude never shuts up about LinkedIn. Avoid. That's everyone on LinkedIn, right? They're always talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So like when we're talking about our content, we only don't want to do it 20% of the time, because what we want that other 70% to be is to always we want to be an aggregator of value. We want to be like taking all the value and educating our audiences so we become a destination website that they go every single day, just like all your listeners for this podcast, right? They come to you because you're aggregating amazing individuals and amazing knowledge every single day that they want to continue to come back and listen to. And that's what you have to be able to do on LinkedIn as well. Educate your audience enough that they understand that they have an issue and they'll come to you for the solution, even if it's not your content. So I hope everyone listening, like when they're listening to your podcast, they learn something new. I hope they're sharing, like, dude, I heard this from Hassan. It was amazing. And I guarantee you that will help build their authority as well into their audience, drawing them in.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's a whole chunk of that's a whole framework that Joshua Lee B just gave you.
Do it every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So just
10-20-70.
It's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Because what you just shared is actually it's basics. And if you just listen to what just what Joshua Bealey said and you actually think about what he said and you just write it down, you could start taking action like tomorrow or today. That's awesome. Thank you. We all want specific results. We all want results. What's the best mix of basically LinkedIn efforts that are paid and free for business or for specific business owners, entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, agency owners to get their, bang for their buck?
Yeah, no, here's the thing, man. I mean, look, on LinkedIn, the organic reach, you do not need to pay for results. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, unless you're trying to be able to get there faster and you're hiring an agency to be able to do it. If it's out of your realm, right, there's great agencies out there to be able to help you get there faster, but everyone can be able to do it. And the first thing it starts with, if I start sending out messages, or if I start putting out content and I didn't take the time out to be able to build my profile that actually tells a story, not just my resume, you've just wasted all your time, right? Because if I'm going through sending messages out, the first thing that people are going to do, they're going to go out and check out your LinkedIn profile. If you don't go through there to be able to build it the way that it really stands out, to be able to tell a story of where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going, right? You're going to miss so much opportunity. Most people's LinkedIn profiles read like a resume. Unless you're looking for a job, hell, I'm going to tell you right now, even if you are looking for a job, don't write a resume. Everyone hates reading resumes. They want to read a story, right? Like if you look at mine, like I don't just have CEO of Standard Authority, right? I have it all the way back from when I worked at Chili's as a server, right? And normally people go, oh my God, you worked at Chili's? Me too, right? Connection, bond, right? Conversation, relationship. And so I tell that evolution of where I've been to be where I'm going in all these different aspects. So it starts there. And I'm going to give you one tip that I think is going to really set everyone apart listening right now. It's called the XYZ statement.
Okay.
All right. So we all have a headline or a title on LinkedIn, right? Usually most time it might say, CEO, founder, director, sales, marketing, whatever it might be, right? LinkedIn already tells us that stuff. I don't need to be able to waste more space. And that's not really for anyone other than myself. Like, I don't care if you're the director of whatever, right? Like it needs to be customer facing forward. So I always say I help X to achieve Y so they can have or go have it achieve Z, right? So I help X, your ideal audience. You're saying who you actually work with, who you love to be able to, and telling the other people, hey, that's not me, right? I help X to achieve Y, right? This is the service that we provide. But dude, I'm going to tell you right now, no one cares how the hamburger is made, right? They just care how it tastes, right? So you have to be able to say what you offer as a service, but don't be that bad marketer going in there because I'm like, hey, this is what we're going to do for you on LinkedIn. I'm going to go through the, no, they only care about the results, Z, right? I help X to achieve Y so they can have Z. We talked about it earlier. As human beings, we make decisions emotionally. What's that emotional outcome of working with you? And look, you like, oh, new clients. What are actually new clients, right? What emotion does that trigger in someone? If you have new clients, it allows you to be able to grow your business. By growing your business, it allows you to be able to spend more time with your family, to be able to travel more, being able to go through, right? I want people to think of this, right? So when you actually create your title, I help X to achieve Y so they can have Z. Mm-hmm. And there's different ways to be able to do that. Dude, It is gangbusters. And not only for that, all SEO friendly. So this is where everyone has to be able to start. Take the time to be able to rock out your profile and then start working on messaging, then start working on content, because you're going to waste your time on those because they're not going to go anywhere.
Talking about that, I have a question about that because I think a lot of people people get to ask this question about niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down, niche. You hear that all the time.
More so on LinkedIn than anywhere right now. Yeah,
exactly. And that X, I help X. How, like, the more, I mean, of course, if the more detailed you're, like more specific you are, the more blue ocean for you.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is that the kind of mindset that we want to have around it?
100%. So look, man, I mean, here's one thing, right? We've actually got a complete page that actually builds this headline for people. You just put in your information. So if people go to quiz.soauthority.com, it builds the entire headline. I help X to achieve Y so they can have Z. But
one more time.
Quiz.so authority.com.
Okay.
And I mean, again, and I'll send you the link so you can be able to share with everyone. But I mean, like that's the headline builder to be able to go through and support everyone listening. But I want you to be able to think about this, right? Like as you're going through, LinkedIn wants that. They want you to be able to go through and be tactical on who you're talking to and why, right? They don't want viral content. They don't want those. just I'm putting out content for content's sake, right? Like, so they want you to be able to really be able to hone in on who you're talking to. So really being able to do that. And I mean, Hassan, like people don't realize like LinkedIn's an SEO gold mine, brother, because I mean, it is the Moz score, the MOZ. That's how SEO is really ranked on Google.
Okay.
It's 100 out of 100.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So like they're not only indexing your profile, they're indexing your content, they're indexing your comments, and it is crazy. So this is why I want everyone to take that time, because all that gets highly, highly indexed, not only on LinkedIn, but Google. And I'll give you one more, brother. Now, because if people don't know, Microsoft bought LinkedIn a couple years back for $26 billion. One of their largest cash purchases. It's roughly now, I think, around 80 billion. So, I mean, it's done pretty well for themselves by the investment. But Microsoft also made another huge investment in the last couple of years. OpenAI, right? They invested $14 billion in OpenAI. OpenAI, if you don't know their name by now, ChatGPT, I have to believe you've heard that one, right? So they've actually invested 14 billion. And what they're doing with LinkedIn is the same thing, but better than what Elon Musk was doing with AKA Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. He wasn't buying a social media platform for social media. He was buying that human algorithm to be able to feed his next AI. And that's what Microsoft and OpenAI are doing right now with LinkedIn. And they are doing it, dude, like gangbusters. And if you want to be I don't want the people listening here, I don't want them to be influencers. Dude, influencers would think, okay, an influencer is that person on TikTok or Instagram that's half naked selling me, some sunglasses or whatever crap they got paid to be able to sell, right?
Gotcha. Yes.
I want people to be thought leaders with influence. And so that's why I want everyone to take that time out, because all this indexing on Google and OpenAI is going to take your authority and put it everywhere for everyone to be able to find. And so that's why we start with our profile first and foremost, and then move on to everything else.
Okay, that's awesome, man. And just to put this into the podcast interview, where could people find you?
Where can be surprise, find me on LinkedIn. But I'm going to tell you right now, dude, I say this probably because I have two kids, right? My daughter's 11, my son's 14, and I actually got a new little one on the way. But, everyone continues to play on LinkedIn. They play this game, which we've all probably heard of before, Pokemon, right? They're always trying to catch them all. And this is the biggest thing, right? Like, dude, everyone's playing Pokemon on LinkedIn. They're like, well, my feed sucks. I get spammed all the time, because all you're doing is hitting that add button all the time. If someone's going to send me a LinkedIn request to be able to connect, you better tell me that you heard me on Hassan's podcast and why you love him, right? That's what I want to see in a personalized message, being able to go through, because not only does that get me to know that person, it allows me and you to be able to get connected to. I'm like, dude, look at all this amazing things that your listeners said about you. Yeah. So that's where I want everyone to find. Find me Joshua B. Lee on LinkedIn, and then send me a message on why you listen to Hassan.
That's awesome, man. LinkedIn is always evolving and growing. How can business owners keep up to date with the changes ahead? You just said AI, which is the topic that I want to talk about with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
How do people keep, like what's going on? Like, how do we keep updating ourselves about what's going on, what's working, what's not working?
Follow me. I mean, I that's all I do is be able to everything that I'm putting out there is educating. I mean, that's the easy way, right? Remember I said destination website, educate your audience every single day. That's what I do. I mean, you can go through and try and find it, but I mean, look, it's the things that I do stand the test of time, because if you're trying to be able to always keep up with the Joneses, being able to go through, that's exhausting. Right? Like, oh, I'm always we talked about it earlier, trying to beat the algorithm. Where do I need to be? Like, worry about that human algorithm, right? It's the one that doesn't change every couple of months. It's the one that evolves slowly over time. And once you actually understand how to be able to connect with other human beings, it's not only going to work for you on LinkedIn, it's going to work for you across all platforms. Just like that XYZ statement. Dude, how many times have people walked up to you at a networking event and like, hey, and you're like, hey, that's cool, man. What are you up to these days? And they give you a 30-minute spiel on what they do. But if they walked up to you and like, dude, man, I help X to do Y so they can have Z, like that's money, right? So it's not only going to help you on LinkedIn, it helps you personally. And so this is what I want everyone to understand is understand how you communicate with your audience and concentrate on that. Concentrate on being you, not trying to be the best on LinkedIn where LinkedIn's going. Like, look, I got you on that, right? Like follow me. I give it free stuff all the time. That's my jam, right? I'm sitting there trying to be able to make sure I'm connected because I work with LinkedIn a lot. Outside of that, I want everyone just to pay attention to what you do best and share that.
I love that. That's awesome, man. That's some nuggets there. So Thank you for sharing that. Man, there's so many good nuggets, and we're still like now a whole way in. Okay, just a couple more questions. We're almost
Yeah.
there. So I'm looking at my questions, and I'm like trying to figure out what is my favorite question, because like some of the questions, like actually we talked about better things rather than these questions. It's always like that, you know that,
If I
right?
could shut up too, I mean, I keep on going on these long tangents. So yeah,
But dude, it's amazing. Thank you so much for going specific and actually taking this, because all of them are great pieces of content that I could share with the community as they're listening. So
yeah,
LinkedIn isn't just for big businesses.
no,
You know, who is it for practically? And you're giving advice to these people that are listening, entrepreneurs, consultants, you know, talking about people that are trying to make their quickest way to cash or get their first clients, or trying to build their resume, trying to get their first connection, trying to get hired at a
yeah.
different company, or looking for a recruiter. What's your thoughts about that?
Everybody that you just said. I mean, like this is that platform. It is not just for one specific person. Like if you are a human being adding value to this world, trying to be able to find high-end relationships with educated individuals, this is the platform for you, being able to go through. And I mean, it's not just what it used to be, right? Like this is the place that people sometimes like, oh, I'm not on social, but I guarantee you they're on LinkedIn, right? And everyone continues to be able to go on there. I mean, dude, I was just telling my team the other day, like I'm like besties now with Snoop Dogg. He just actually jumped on LinkedIn, and we keep on going back and forth. Every time that he's commenting or sending me messages, everyone's like, dude, Snoop keeps on, messaging you. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I at least hope it's him. It's probably his team, but
That's awesome.
yeah, I can believe whatever I want, right? Kind of going through. But I mean, this is that whole piece where like everyone's starting to be able to get on this platform because they understand the power and what it actually represents and what they're actually trying to be able to do. So I don't care if you're a personal trainer, if you are, a CEO of at a Fortune 100 company, or you're talking about, you're an employee being able to do it. That's how my wife, like when she worked at Microsoft, she was in there and she was looking for an extra opportunity. You know how she actually went from running the branding at Microsoft Partner Network to running the branding at Gartner Digital Networks, two Fortune 100 companies. She did by building relationships, leveraging LinkedIn, connecting, right? Like doing those things, right? Remember I said, we have to be able to give those dopamine hits. She found the people that she wanted to connect with at these companies, liked them, commented on their posts, and reached out to thank them, started conversation, build a relationship, and open up opportunities. This works for everyone. I've done training with people that are in recruiting to employees, amazing people that, I mean, I would have never thought that I could ever be able to influence them because they've influenced my life so much. And it's the same thing. Because again, I'm not saying what's only for this industry or that, like it's for all industries, because what we're doing is working on that human aspect. And this is the platform that people need to be in. Bloomberg just came out with an article saying LinkedIn's cool again. And guess what? Gary Vee shortly afterwards was like, dude, this is a great video. I'm glad that they believe that LinkedIn's cool again, but it's always been cool. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you're sleeping and you're going to miss out.
100%. 100%. Drop the mic right there, man. So talking about that, the quickest way to build trust, because trust is everything on LinkedIn, yeah. Top of your mind.
LinkedIn's the number one trusted platform out there. You need to be able to build those relationships. So this is what we do. I'm going to give you my exact formula on how we actually do that, right? I already told you on the one side, we engage with people that engage with us, right?
Exactly.
They look at our profile, they engage our comments, right? So that's that first hit of dopamine we're going. On the other side of it, right? We talked about why does every single person on the line post online? They hit post online for those hits of dopamine, those likes and comments.
Yes.
So we use Sales Navigator, right? To be able to draw on our audience. That's LinkedIn's built-in CRM system. Right? To be able to go in and say, Hassan, I saw your recent post, man. And you can actually go through, identify your audience, and then have this one filter and spotlight that says post on LinkedIn the last 30 days. Because I don't need to message 100,000 people. Exactly. Like I want to connect with my audience that's actually online, yes, and actually is taking action. And so being able to go through and do that, and then we connect. Now, this is where everyone messes up. This is where you lose your trust immediately. What do people do when they connect with you on LinkedIn half the time?
Right away.
Hit you with a pitch, right?
Right away.
Dude, no one does that. You know what my mom taught me? And I told you, this is the process. This is the things that my mom taught me how to treat human beings. My mom taught me when I meet someone new to give a compliment, right? Like, oh my God, dude, love your dog, cool hat, love your car, whatever it might be, right? We do this in person all the time. Like, oh my God, it's so amazing to be able to see you. We give compliments. Exactly. So on LinkedIn, we look at it as a compliment as giving an endorsement, right? So people go, well, Josh, dude, how can you endorse someone if you don't know them? The number one rule in my house with my kids is it's nice to be nice, right? Being able to go in. So again, that's that same thing. It's nice to be nice. I can endorse you, right? So LinkedIn goes in and says, Hassan, Josh endorsed you for marketing, man. We want to say thank you. They're doing our job for us. Right? Another hit of dopamine. You just hit the button. Hey, Josh, man, thank you so much for endorsing me for marketing. This is our opportunity, again, not to pitch, but to understand where they're coming from so we can add value, right? So like, Hassan, man, happy to be able to do that for you. Hey, quick question while I have you, right? And ask a question about them. Not about how much money they make, if they can afford something, how long they've been in business. Mindset questions are amazing. So one question that we designed for someone that I know, trust, and love, and really go through is Dan Sullivan, was strategic coach.
Yes, I heard. I that's in your story. Yes.
Yeah. So like with Dan, it was, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur or a business owner with an entrepreneurial mindset? Right. Understanding where they are, because they can give me answer A, which is early on in the career, entrepreneur, or they consider themselves an entrepreneur for too long, burning the candle at both ends. Right. Okay. Business owner with an entrepreneurial mindset, probably farther along, probably have a team. It gives me a better understanding of what their thinking is.
Exactly.
Or they can say, I work for somebody else. What that allows us to do is be able to add value where they're at and be able to always make sure we leave every conversation with value. Because this is the one thing I want everyone to understand. They give you the answer and it's not the answer you're looking for. Like, oh, that's not my client. Most people do this. That's intentional silence, right? Because they walk away, right? Like, up, next. They're going that. Always we hear lead with value. I want everyone to understand that you have to leave with value. Leave every conversation with value. So whatever answer they give you, always give, right? Oh, that's amazing where you're at. Here's my free plus shipping book. Here's a PDF. Here's some knowledge that I think would be amazing. Have an amazing day. Because what we want to be able to do, I don't want to teach everyone how to get clients. Because that's what everyone's like, oh, I need to be able to figure out how to get clients, how to get clients. No, I want you to understand that it's more powerful to build an advocate over a client, because a client is a one-to-one relationship. An advocate can bring you thousands of clients.
100%.
That's what you want to be able to do.
And that's like what you just said. That's drop the mic right there. Another drop the mic. Giving exponential value. It's what you said. And being an advocate, in offline, and the way I built relationship, that's what I did offline. That acknowledge, build relationship, build the trust, never pitch.
Nothing different. But that's what I want everyone to say. Don't change that. If it works so well, amazingly in person, even if you can't see that person, still do the same things. Be exactly. Online as well.
Yes, exactly, man. Being a thought leader is powerful. What steps can a entrepreneur take a position for themselves as a go expert on LinkedIn? Because everyone wants to kind of become a thought leader in this space, so on and so forth, right, to attract the top-notch clients in this space.
And the biggest thing you want to be able to do is continue to be able to look, LinkedIn's the number one trusted platform out there. You want to be able to not only talk about what you can do, but actually provide results and provide ways for people to be able to get there. If you want to be able to be a thought leader, actionable advice that someone can be able to take. But people go, Hassan, all the time they go, well, I can't tell them exactly how I do something, because then they're just going to take it and they're never going to hire me.
Exactly.
Wrong.
Exactly.
Right? I'm telling you right now, they can't be you without you. They cannot get the results they want. They can eventually, maybe a percentage of that, but it's the same thing if I said, I walked into McDonald's and I'm like, hey, I want to get trying to think of, I don't even know what kind of I haven't walked into McDonald's in a while, but I'm like, I want a Big Mac. There we go. I remember what. I want a Big Mac. They're like, okay, cool. Well, it's $5, or for $1, I'm going to show you how to make it. You can make it yourself. There's going to be a percentage of people that go, oh, cool. Dude, I can say $4. Hell yeah, man. Let's go in the back. Show me how to be able to make it. And those people are going to be shown how to make it. And they're like, dude, that's a lot of work. I just want to get my burger. It's called fast food. I want to get out of here. Can I just give you the $5 now and be able to get it? So now they paid $6 to be able to get the same thing they could have got for $5, right? Because they were trying to be able to understand. So that's what I want you to understand. Like, everyone here, give them the ingredients on how to be able to do it. Allow them to be able to take that journey. And when they realize that's not their superpower and they need to be able to stay in their own zone of genius, they will call you to be able to get them there faster.
Got you.
That's what you got to do on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. Consistency is key.
That's it. You can't just post once a month and be like, all right, cool, I'm good.
Yeah.
You want to do at least 3 times a week.
Exactly. For entrepreneurs that are going from juggling so much stuff, clients, business, employees, hiring, doing this, doing that, innovating, trying to find the next winning campaign, how would you tell them to deal with creating that consistency and maintaining a strong online presence?
The one thing you have to remember is, and I learned this, when I went through my life reset through my divorce, I can always make more money. I cannot make more time. Time is the one resource we cannot get back. I know that's a very difficult concept to understand a lot of times, depending on where you are in your career. But here's the one thing: as entrepreneurs, we have to understand we have to value our time to the utmost highest, right? So like, we're like, oh, well, we can do this. I can do this. I can wear all the hats. You're never going to do it the best. And if you're actually going through, I always have this program. It's like the 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 different columns. Like, where am I spending my time? As entrepreneurs, we want to spend our time in that $1,000 an hour or higher value. Well, if I value my time at $1,000 and let's say I'm answering email or creating content, right? Would I pay someone else $1,000 an hour to create my post? Probably not. So why am I doing it? Right? Let me go find that person. These days, you can get a Fiverr. There's lots of places to be able to hire someone to be able to do that kind of stuff. So you can stay in your zone of genius of what you do to be able to get your clients results. And so it's hard to be able to go through, but you've got to invest in yourself and have pride in what you value for you if you want to be able to get there faster.
That's awesome, man. Now, talking about all these things that we talked about, man, the data will tell you the story. Data will always tell you a story. The numbers will tell you a story. On
Always
LinkedIn,
in the numbers.
what LinkedIn metrics should business owners, entrepreneurs keep an eye on to measure the true impact of their strategies?
I mean, again, how many people are messaging you? Being able to go through. Likes are great, right? Like, but that's branding. I mean, branding is great, being able to go through, but it's superficial, right? I don't care if people like or comment, but they're actually messaging, having conversations, being able to go through. That's what I want to be able to go through. How many relationships am I building? How many conversations am I having? That's what we want to be able to. If you are polarizing enough in your content, they're not just going to like your post. They're not just going to comment on your post. They're going to send your message like, oh my God, I align with you, right? That will push someone to be able to go through. And that's what I think most people need to be. Like, I can go through all the vanity metrics that you want. I can go through profile views. We can go through, how many likes, how many comments, how many post views we got. And at the end of the day, those don't turn into opportunities. How are you actually going to turn those opportunities? So I'm going to look at, okay, all those people that looked at my profiles and looked at my comment on my post, looked at my comment, whatever you want to talk about the post, like going through, how many of these were I able to turn into a conversation? Right. So you've got to engage with people that engage you. That's where I'm going to tell everyone, spend your time in the relationship building field, being able to have real conversations, not superficial metrics.
That's awesome, man. That being said, man, I get a lot of people talking about the normal profile, sales navigator, all these profiles. And the world that we talked about as someone that wants to build authority, do they need sales navigator? Is that a must? Would it help?
I'm going to tell you, I think it's the only way to be able to go about it. I mean, look, it's $100 a month. And if you can't invest $100 in your month to building relationships, then you're not looking at the right thing, right? Because again, this is what I want everyone to understand. It's not about, most people use it as a marketing tool. It's like, Hassan, I see you run a podcast. I do podcast promotions, and they just kind of go through and they're just sending 1,000 messages out. Like I told you, you can actually go on there and then find out the people that are in your ideal audience better than any other platform right now, because most of these other platforms got rid of half the metrics to be able to define your audience. And then you can actually go through and see which of them are actually active on LinkedIn to be able to start those conversations and build those relationships.
That's awesome.
It is pivotal in the success that we do with our clients.
Joshua B. Lee, man, I can't thank you enough for the valuable nuggets, the information that you have put in. I can't wait to actually re-listen to this, because there's so many formulas that I could put into an article and share it with people and put your link where they can find you and all that stuff. But I just want to say thank you so much. My team is grateful. I am grateful. We met at a digital marketer event. That's how we met. And I'm grateful that we had that conversation. And like we said, we'll get in at some point, we'll make that interview. And
here we are.
It happened. So thank you so much for taking the time. Is there any last words you want to say to the audience or the people that are listening to this?
I mean, look, I'm going to tell everyone right now, like, we continue to be able to hear that we're in a digital revolution. I'm going to tell you that's wrong, right? We're in a human revolution now more than ever. This is the opportunity for you as human beings to be able to stand out, because so many people are going to go through and leverage AI and being able to go through all these different things to be able to go through and do their jobs for them, right? But that can't be, right? That you're trying to be able to talk about like an application or something of that nature. AI and digital is a tool, and tool in the right hands, like a chisel into a sculptor's hands, becomes beautiful magic, right? And so this is the opportunity, right? We have the tools at our disposal to become artists in what we do, but it only happens in the hands of another human being. You cannot allow this digital to be able to take over. We're not in a digital revolution. This is a human revolution. Let's stand out together, y'all.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much, Joshua. Appreciate you, man.